Hi to all our viewers out there. This is the channel of ARK28. Cheers for watching. Just going to have a little discussion on all the latest events and news in world sport once again. And joining me is my former colleague and good friend, John Pennington. John, how are you doing today?
Yeah, good, thanks Aaron. Hello everybody.
Yeah, John, so plenty to talk about, John. Where should we start? I guess, well, we've got the World Cup, the finals tomorrow. What have you made of the semi-finals?
Well, they're very different, weren't they? And Karachi had an absolute remarkable game where Germany was to beat Brazil 7-1. That was the sort of game that we might never see the like of again in our lifetimes. And then the slightly more predictable, I suppose, in the second semi-final, the Netherlands and Argentina going down to penalties. But I thought might well be the case beforehand. They were very evenly matched. I couldn't really pick a winner. So, yeah, very, very much a contrasting game there, but entertaining for different reasons.
No, absolutely. I mean, it was almost that Brazil-Germany game. I mean, it was like something you see on a computer, on a video game, wasn't it? Or it was like you weren't in reality, wasn't it? It was just goal after goal after goal. It was like, where is this going to end? But it was phenomenal. It was just phenomenal to watch and to say that you've seen, really. But,
yeah, I mean, Germany rather made Brazil look very silly, but it just showed how much they do rely on Thiago Silva at the back and obviously Neymar up front. They didn't look like a team at all, and it's not often I sort of watch sport and don't really know what to say, and that was one of the very rare occurrences. So you almost couldn't believe what we were watching. It was something else.
Well, I have to give you a lot of credit, JP, because I remember you, on our last video blog, you said that if Brazil conceded the first goal, it would be very difficult. And I remember you tweeted game over just after the first goal went in, and it pretty much had that feeling.
Yes, nice to get prediction right.
Well, you're doing well, aren't you? You got the Wimbledon final correct as well.
Yeah, I did. Called that one well back, so
that was
doing quite well.
That again, that was a phenomenal match, wasn't it? Phenomenal drama right there, I thought. I mean, Djokovic was probably the tournament favourite going in, but Federer with that record on grass, and he fought so hard, didn't he, right till the end. It was great theatre, really, to watch.
Yeah, it was a wonderful game, and I think Djokovic was a better player, but you can never discount someone of the class of Federer, and he almost pulled it off, but no, Djokovic did very, very well.
And I think for Djokovic as well, it was quite a big win, because I think he'd lost his last 5 out of 6 Grand Slam finals. I think he's undoubtedly been the most consistent player out of the top 4 probably for the last couple of years, but he just hasn't had those majors to show for it. So maybe there's a sign of those nerves that he hadn't done that, and I really feared for him when he lost that 4th set. But I think that could have had a really negative impact on his career. If he was to have lost that final from where he was. So I think to have pulled through, it sets things up nicely for the US Open now.
Yeah, no, they're spot on there and absolutely right. Beats a few sort of psychological hurdles there as well.
Definitely. So, getting back to the World Cup, I'm going to ask you as well, JP. Obviously, I think I saw your blog, and it's kind of almost an inconsequential game after all that's happened tonight. But any thoughts on it at all, or is it one that's not really of much interest to you?
Generally, the last third, fourth playoffs have actually been quite entertaining because there's almost nothing riding on it. So teams can throw caution to the wind, play some of the youngsters, play some of the players who haven't played, they're nice and fresh, go out, almost have a bit of fun. But both teams, I think if I'm right, have sort of both said, I don't really know what the point of this game is, we don't want to play it. So you could get a bit of a down 0-0. I don't want to make any predictions because it's such a, I don't want to use the word meaningless, but in many respects it kind of is. It's almost like the supporting act for the main event tomorrow. We won't remember this game in a few years' time, even if tomorrow's is a poor game, because it's the World Cup final. It's the main event.
I completely agree with you. The only thing I'll say, I agree, because really, even I think the Dutch manager said the same thing. He said that it's all about the World Championship match. 3rd or 4th means nothing to him. But you saw the Brazilian fans in their semi-final. There were fans, they were crying, they were in tears. And you just wonder. Brazil haven't played as well as Holland in this World Cup, but I guess it's almost a chance for them. Not quite a redemption, but maybe they almost apologise to their fans, if you like. So I'm expecting a slightly improved performance from Brazil tonight.
Yes, I think there's a lot more riding on it for Brazil than there is for Netherlands, I suppose. When you put it like they are at home, their fans are going to expect a dramatically improved performance. So, perhaps Brazil to come out and actually show what they can do and not ship goals is the thing to look out for.
100%. And I think, JP, obviously you've been keeping up. I mean, it's a busy weekend of sport, isn't it, as usual? But I know with the Test match, I know you've been keeping up with. It's been some crazy happenings there as well, isn't it?
Yes, the Test match at Trent Bridge is very much one where you've got wickets tumbling after lunch, or apart from today, and 10th wicket partnership records being broken with previous Kumar and John putting on 111 on it would have been day 2, wasn't it? And then obviously Jimmy Anderson and Joe Root putting on 198 over the course of yesterday and today, which it does go to show the benign nature of the pitch, I'm afraid, and this is a game where batsmen have really dominated. I mean, starting today, there was very little chance of the game not being a draw in the way that Joe Root and James Anderson have battered, and all credit to them, they battered very well. To just sort of further emphasise that, so we move on really to Lords, hoping for a bit more spice in the pitch, but that's not to take anything away from Jimmy, who's obviously played superbly to get to 81.
Oh no, I was going to say that completely. I mean, whatever we say about the pitch, and my thoughts are the same. That takes so much mental aptitude, doesn't it? I mean, and it carries on from what he did against Sri Lanka, where he almost kind of got England in the draw there. I thought it was a superb mental effort. I saw a lot of people on Twitter were kind of criticising Dhoni's captaincy. What are your thoughts on that, JP? Do you think that was justified, or do you think maybe that's a bit harsh?
I think some of it was probably justified, because generally, when you've got the tail enders in, you don't have to sort of set funky fields and be Mike Brewerley. Generally just bowl straight, bowl fast, and eventually they'll miss one. But both England and India, and it's probably not just them, seem to not want to do that, seem to want to try to either bounce them out. And fair enough, against Anderson on a quick pitch, that's the way to get him out. But we've seen all the bowlers try to bowl short on this pitch, you're just not getting up. So, I think some of the criticism is fair, but some of it, as usual, is a little bit over the top. Neither Cook nor Dhoni have done a great job so far in actually finishing off their opposition, and that's what wins you games, is winning their sessions. It's when you get on top, you make sure you stay on top. But both teams have allowed the other team to get out of jail. So, I think that some of the criticism is entirely justified.
Yeah, he did have that feel about it, didn't it? It was almost like he just expected the wicket was going to fall. He was just kind of sitting back a little bit. And a little bit, after a while, when it might be a number 11, but when a guy's in, you have to be a bit more proactive probably than that, don't you?
Yeah, you've got to go out there and get the wicket. You can't just expect them to give it away. So,
no.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens as the series goes on, whether this is a sort of recurring theme or not.
Definitely. I mean, it does strike me, doesn't it, as two sides that have both got a lot of talent in there, as we talked about, but, two talented young squads, but really both are going through maybe a little India, because they haven't really won away from home for a long period of time, England with their recent running form, so it's two sides really struggling a bit for confidence, doing some great things in this match, but also trying to sort of buck the trend really in terms of confidence. I think that's what makes it quite a fascinating matchup, really.
Yeah, it does. It's very much two teams who maybe haven't got that sort of habit at the moment of winning, which means we may end up seeing a few situations like this where you want to see, so they've got to press that advantage if they don't quite manage it. But that will come, maybe the winner of this series might go on and develop that habit, but who knows, 3 years' time we might be looking back at this series as a real point from which one of these teams went on to bigger and better things, but no, we'll wait to see.
No, definitely. And I think we touched on JP, didn't we, about the Wimbledon fight, and I think what were your thoughts as well moving forward now? I know it's a way away, but the US Open. I mean, do you think it's too early to call? Because some people are saying now with this win, which is going to be like the heavy favourite. But
yeah, if you were going to pick a winner now, I would probably go for Djokovic, but it's probably too early to sort of call, because they go and play quite a few tournaments before the US Open, if I remember correctly, don't they? So
that's great. Let's do Masters,
isn't it? See how the players move from the grass court onto the hard court season before making any firm predictions, I think. But yeah, out of the top players, he seems to be in the best form. So yeah, why not?
I think from Murray's point of view, I think he's still recovering. I think a lot of it's going to be how well he does in the warm-up tournaments as well, because I think his ranking, I think, down to number 10, so he's going to need a little bit of luck now from the draw as well. But we'll see. If he can get a couple of wins under his belt, then you never know what can happen as well.
Absolutely.
I think we were talking about the story briefly, weren't we, about the basketball, JP, with LeBron?
We were indeed, and I sort of wanted to get your thoughts on that, Aaron, because he's gone back home, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, and that's been the big quote in all over America. It's been, "I'm going home," because famously, 4 years ago, LeBron James, who's from Ohio, played all his basketball there. One of the few basketball players that didn't go to high school, go to university, kind of just went through high school, decided to go to Miami, and it was a lot of people weren't that happy about it. They felt they saw him as a traitor. Their CEO Dan Gilbert wrote a letter to all the fans, almost calling him a traitor, said that he's betrayed the club. It was a really bitter kind of split. Went to Miami for 4 years, and finally won his first title. He's now won 2, so he's no longer the best player not to have won an NBA title. So he's really cemented Miami as a great team. He's cemented himself as a great player. A lot of people thought he just opted out of his contract. We discussed it last week just to get more money, but out of nowhere he's basically announced that he's going home. And actually I think it's been met with quite a lot of a warm reception. People are saying it's going to enhance his legacy, because a lot of people in America didn't like the way that happened 4 years ago, but now he's gone back to, and he basically said that now that he's experienced winning, he really wants to experience. He's thankful to Miami, but he just wants to experience it with his state as well. He wants to bring them some of that glory as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of nuance to the story, isn't it? But no, it'd be interesting to see how that works out if he can, go back home and be successful. Good luck to him.
Yeah, I think the most interesting point of all, I mean, I think we touched on with regards to KP, and I think I agree with you. There are differences, but the fact that no one ever thought LeBron would ever be able to play under that owner, Dan Gilbert, the one that basically bagged him out to the fans, but the fact that he's been able to put that behind. But I think it's different with KP and ECB because there's just too many other factors, aren't there? There's just too many other things. So yeah, you couldn't really make that comparison there, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I know I was sort of talking a bit earlier on about there are sort of other sportsmen who's similar to LeBron, sort of gone away, come back. The only two I can really think of are a couple of Yorkshire crews, Darren Goff being one. He went away from Yorkshire, captained Essex,
true,
and then went back later on in his career. And Ryan Sligotham did the same.
Yeah.
So he didn't go and captain, he went to Notts, he went back as well. So it isn't sort of unusual, but as we said last week, because he's the greatest player in the world, it's being played out very, very publicly, and it's very, very high profile. So yeah, there are other examples of that sort of happening in sport as well.
Oh, definitely, and he made a good point as well. He just said that a lot of players go away for 4 years to college and they play college basketball. He never had that opportunity. So in many ways for him, these 4 years in Miami was like his equivalent, if you like, of the 4 years in college. It gave him those 4 years to kind of find himself, be on his 2 feet, and now he's, with all that he's learned, he's ready to go back to his state and maybe try and win one for them.
Yeah, change of scenery, change of environment often works for people, whether in a sporting environment or otherwise. So yes, that's a very good point as well.
So that's it, and well, to the guys watching, they know that they can check out your blog. What's the site for your blog, JP?
It's my personal website, so jspennington.com.
That's right, and obviously you can subscribe here and you can follow me at AaronK28, and you can follow JP. It's JS Pennington, isn't it?
That's right.
Yep, and yeah, so obviously we always welcome your comments and your tweets, and I'm sure we'll have plenty more to catch up on, won't we, JP, next week?
Certainly will.
Alright, so yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you all soon.